All right, so 4.3 is all about graphing linear equations using a table. Okay, so there's some important reminders here that we need to review. Is that linear equations, they make lines, okay? So linear equations make lines, and on a line, there's an infinite amount of points because lines never end, okay? So there's infinite amounts of points. What we're going to do in order to graph these is we're going to identify a few points that are on the line. And we're going to do that by choosing an x. So we're going to choose an x, or our independent variable, and that's going to give us our y because y is a dependent variable. So we get to choose our x, and then that'll give us our y. But one thing we need to remember is that with linear equations, we need to solve for y first. Okay, so looking at example 1, I want you to solve for y first. So before we do anything, solve for y. Okay, so when you solved, hopefully you got y is equal to 4/3 x minus 2. Okay, so looking at this table where it says y equals, I'm going to put this down there. I'm going to put my equation down there. So I have y equals 4/3 x minus 2. Now, we have to think of some values for x. So what I mean by that is I normally go with basic numbers like 0 or 1 or 2. And I always try to do at least one negative number and one positive number. Okay, but what we want to think about is we want nice even numbers. We have a fraction here. We have 4/3 x. So you want to put in values for x that's going to get rid of this denominator. So I want multiples of 3. So I would probably plug in 3, -3, and let's say a +6. So I'm going to plug these values in for x. So I'm going to plug these values in for x into my equation and solve. Okay. So I'm going to have 4/3. So you can put this in the little box if you have room. 4/3 times 0 minus 2, which 4/3 times 0 is 0. And then 0 minus 2 is -2. So that means my ordered pair should be 0, -2. Okay. So on and so forth. So one more time, we're going to plug in 4/3, and I'm going to plug in this 3 for my x, minus 2. Now you can remember, you can use your calculator. 4/3 times 3, I know, is 4. And then I bring my minus 2. And then 4 minus 2 is 2. So then my next ordered pair is 3, 2. All right, so I want you to try the next two. Do -3 and 6. Okay, so hopefully you got -3, -6, and 6, 6. So now we have those values. Now we're going to start plugging those into the chart. So remember, my x is this axis. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. So I'm going to go over 0 on my x-axis and then down -2 on my y-axis. So this is my first point right here. So I just graphed this point. My next point, 3, 2. I'm going to +3 and +2. So there's my next point. The one after that goes to -3. Just kidding, that's too far. -3, -6, which is down here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I went down too far. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -6 right there. So really make sure you're counting. Okay. This 1, 3, 2, 0, 2. Okay, I'm just making sure all the other ones were good. All right, and then my last one, I go over 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, up 2, 4, 6. Okay, so you see these dots? Now I can connect them with a line. Okay, so now I can connect them with a line, and ideally your line's straight. Mine's not very straight, but yours ideally. All right, so let's continue on looking at example 2. In this case, if you notice, there is no y. There's no y here. So that means we have to just solve for x. So take a moment and get x alone. Okay, so take a moment and get x alone. All right, so you should get x is equal to -2. So that means our x value is always going to be -2. Okay. So since there is no y value, we would just pick random y values. Okay. So let's say 1, -3, 0, 4. Okay. So when x is -2 and y is 0, there's that first point. When x is -2 and 1, there's the next point. So we've done this one and this one. -2 and 4. -2 and -3. Okay. So if you notice, all of these are on the same line. Okay. So whenever you have an x equals something, that tells you it's a vertical line. So it's a vertical line at whatever that number is. So since it's a -2, it's a vertical line there. Looking at the next screen. Okay. So now this one's y equals. So that means our y value is always going to be -3. So since there are no x's, we can find random ones like 0, 3, 7, -4. So at x is 0, and then we have -3, there's the first point. When x is 3, y is -3. There's the next point. When x is 7, and it's -3, there's that point. And then -4, -3. So now these ones are all horizontal. So when y is alone, it's horizontal. It's a horizontal line. Okay. So what I would suggest for your homework is to get rid of the denominator. So get rid of denominator. And maybe you would do that by multiplying by 12. Okay, so just a hint there.